Alright, hello beautiful people. So we're back on our Terraria Let's Play, and in the last episode, I have actually done voiceovers. I don't know when they'll be up, but eventually they'll be the same videos with an actual voiceover where I'll discuss what I'm doing. But from now on I'm going to be recording the audio as I play, which makes more sense anyway. And I'd been considering whether to move from a small world to a medium or large world, simply because we didn't find any gear, and we've been really hampered. I mean, the best weapon I have is a cactus sword, and that hardly counts. I did get a little bit of cobweb, but I don't think that's enough to make a yo-yo. I don't remember whether I have to make string first. I think I do have to make string first, which means I'd have to make a loom, which means I'd have to make a sawmill, which means I'd have to make chain. So one of the things I was considering was simply straight up taking the current game and grabbing all the things that I think are useful and moving over to an entirely new world. Yes, I think we will. This is just sort of, we're a bit stuck. So because this one spawned Crimson, I'm gonna force Crimson again, but otherwise we'll start again from scratch. So I'm gonna take things that I think are useful and that I use all the time. Things that I don't, I'm just gonna leave behind because they're not useful. Might take grenades in case I don't find any bombs. Lenses are kind of useful. Take the money. Leave the vertebrae behind for now. Might take the vicious mushrooms because otherwise they get painful. Alright, I'll take the vertebrae then, because the only reason to take the vicious mushrooms is if you're intending to farm the boss. So I'll take the tin ore. Don't really need the dyes. They're only what's the word that I'm looking for? Vanity, anyway. They don't really accomplish anything. Definitely don't need starfish. Don't need any more shade wood. Don't need any of these bricks, particularly. And I don't know what a bone welder's for, so I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, I do want to take these chests with me, though. So everything else I'm going to dump into the trash. There's probably a few people out there cringing right now, like, oh no, you could have used that to do this, you could have used that to do that. Well, you could have, but we're going to start a new game. We'll, sort of new game, since we're keeping the character and some of the things. And otherwise, we'll just take the chest with us. Dyes again, it's just vanity. I am not that vain. I don't even normally use dyes at all. I just did for the purposes of this, because hey, they were there, and they look like something, so it appears that I was doing something. And once we've got all three chests, we will take our anvil and the furnace and the crafting table. Why not? Not that that's expensive. Or the workbench. Get some of that. Get some of that. Blah 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 blah. Got a golden key that I'll hang on to. Is there anything else I really need? I would say no. Alright. So, save and exit. Single player. Evil quiz. We will leave that there. Let's go medium. Large. Medium. Large. Normal. And we had Crimson, so we'll stay with Crimson. And we'll call this correct. Let's play 2. Ha 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 ha. You might notice this is a little bit faster. Well, some parts of it, the actual generation won't be faster, but the loading will be faster, and that's because I recently upgraded from a SATA 3 SSD to a Gen 4 PCIe NVMe drive. Man, that's a lot of initialisms. Initialisms, a lot of people don't know that not everything is an acronym. NASA is an acronym, FBI is not an acronym. Because you say NASA, you don't say FIBI. If you said FIBI, then it would be an acronym. All acronyms are initialisms, not all initialisms are acronyms. You learn something new every day. Well, maybe you already knew that. But not everyone does, and I don't know, it's a thing. A lot of people don't pay attention to it. You'll often hear people say, FBI is an acronym, or CIA is an acronym, or WWW is an acronym. No, it's not. Water there is kind of annoying. I might dump that into that later. So, same start as before. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put down your basic platforms when Kyle moves. Get out of the way, Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. Yeah, so if you're watching this and you haven't watched the old ones, or you have watched the old ones and you've watched them, the pre-uploading of the voiceovers, I discuss in detail in the voiceovers why I build the base that I build the way I build it. But I'll go through the basics of it again. It's basically a zombie safety house. It will protect you from zombies. It won't protect you, well, your NPCs from zombies. It won't protect your NPCs from demon eyes, or it will to some extent, but not a full extent. But the zombie AI is simple. They are only zombies. And one of the things you can do to stop them from sort of invading your base is to make sure that there's no doors that they can access. And possibly the easiest way to do that is to make sure that you're built above the ground, so that to get to the door they would have to climb, and then preventing them from climbing by exploiting their very simple AI. In fact, pretty much everything that... Oh, that's a pinky. I kind of want that. You don't get pink shell very often. With my cactus sword. Oh, geez. Yeah, so, I mean, the AI in Terraria for pretty much most enemies is kind of simple. The only thing that you will generally have a problem with is anything that can teleport inside your base, or things that can fly. Well, they're not supposed to be able to access your base from above, but they generally can, because I sort of build the base as if I'm going to improve the base later, and then never actually get around to improving the base. So there's actually supposed to be a blockage at the top, but I never ever build it. You'll see what I mean. So yeah, about this high is sort of the minimal that I go for. When I build out a tree farm along this line I'm currently hovering the cursor over, and this line, then you end up having the trees sort of, the graphics for the trees will actually be in front of your house, and it's hard to see what you're doing. So a little bit higher, and they tend not to. Even at this height, they still can, which is annoying, but, you know, it's not that bad. So we deal with it, but we also build a little bit higher to kind of minimize. I'm not really going to need that much space for the crafting area. That's a bit ridiculous. Again, in the voiceovers, there's so much good information in the voiceover, and I just haven't gotten around to remixing and adding the voiceover over the original gameplay. One of the things is I lost the original video file, so if I do re-upload, it's also going to be at a lower resolution, only 720, and in something like Terraria, that's really, really noticeable. It can be very hard to see when you lower the resolution, so that's a bit of a problem for the videos. So we'll see. I could convert the voiceover into closed captions and use that instead. So I don't know what I'm going to do there, but at some point they will be resolved, and episode 1 and 2 will have some form of narration, whether that be a text narration or an audio narration. We shall see. Right, so we need a couple of doors. Oh, I ran out of wood. So I'll have to go and harvest some wood now as well. I'll just go over here. This little bit is actually nice and flat, which is kind of good. It's not normally that flat. You don't normally get that lucky. It's normally like that. The water's going to be a problem. I'm going to have to drain that somewhere. Don't know why the guide is apparently talking about spiders. Maybe he's just scared of spiders. I had a weird dream about spiders last night, says Kyle. Get rid of this, because we don't need stone here. We need dirt here. We need grass to grow on it, so sooner rather than later is best. I'm now having problems with my mouse. You buy a good mouse, don't cheap out on the mouse mat. I did, and now I'm having problems where the mouse just jumps position really, really often as a result of cheaping out on the mouse pad. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's either there's just dirt on it. It has developed this weird bump. It's the bump isn't present at the bottom of the mouse mat, so the actual layers of the mouse mat are having problems. The uppermost layer that you actually place your mouse on is fine. It is all messed up. But the underneath layer that actually rests on your desk and prevents the mouse from moving around is all screwed up. It's really annoying. So so now I need to buy a new mouse mat as well. Problems. First world problems as well. Let's see how much wood have we got. Let's get pretty close to enough to build some housing. So housing-wise, it's just about having enough space for NPCs. There are many different ways you can build that housing. I tend to go with the apartment complex because the NPC's comfort is not that important, except for the very, very minimal, that is, the minimal level of comfort that they require, which means they get a table. You're lucky you get a table. If you didn't absolutely have to have a table, I wouldn't even give you a table. It's a bit like Minecraft in that respect. I think the minimum there is a bed these days. It used to just be a door, but now it's a bed. We'll fill some of this out because we can. Night is coming and we'll be able to do all our indoor building during night rather than going out and exploring. That'll do for now. Oh, it's so weird coming from an advanced character back to a new character when you move so slow and you can't double jump and you've got no hook shot. Having no hook shot is definitely the worst. So about there. Trees, 2 apart. That way, you leave enough space for the little bits that grow to the side of the tree for both trees. I think it's only like 1 more wood, but hey, 1 more wood is 1 more wood. Wood's not the most important thing in the game, but early game you do need a fair bit of it to do just assorted things. Construction being primary at this point in the game, but later on there'll be other things that you'll do with wood. Can't for the life of me think of one. Just for exploring, you go through a lot of platforms exploring in the early game when, like I said, you don't have double jump or a hook shot, so you can't really climb out of things easily. If you fall down a hole, you're stuck at the bottom of the hole if you don't have enough wood. So yeah, this will just be a sort of renewable resource of trees. The torches both provide base light for where my base is placed, as well as giving an instantly recognizable and usable marker for when I have to replant these trees later. Trees in Terraria grow randomly from what I've been able to tell. Sometimes you'll plant an acorn and the very moment you've planted it, the tree will sprout immediately. But, you know, We're not desperate for wood at the moment, we just needed that little bit before. Get rid of this marigold. Not sure if a marigold counts for summoning the dye trader. Right, so back to how to build the safe base. So we build out 4 from the wall, but then delete these 2. You can delete this third one, you can build out 2, 3 from the wall and delete the first 2. I just like 2 because it's a little more easier to jump onto. And you do this up to this level, and then there you just put 2 up against the wall. So when the zombies come along, they come along and they'll get to here, and at their most luckiest, if you are, say, over here in your crafting area or something, or there's an NPC that they're trying to get to, they will jump and land on this one. But then they will jump and do that. So they won't be able to get up there. So you put your door at this level. Oh, might as well make that more crystal now. And we need a door, 2 doors in fact. Let's put 2 and do both sides at once while we're here. So yeah, it'll be night soon, and you'll probably actually see the zombies and what I was talking about in regards to their very simple AI that can't work out how to use these platforms to get into the house. The base, the safe-ish base. Now, building everything out of wood, that is a natural resource. And later on, when you get to hard mode, you definitely want to be upgrading that to something non-natural that Hallow, Crimson, Corruption, etc. cannot spread through. Ah, there's a tree grown. The first tree. That way your base can become sort of, the at least 1 point of stoppage if you don't want to go the whole way and isolate those hard mode biomes entirely. Some people do, some people don't. I tend not to bother. If I really need something from a pre-hard mode biome or from, a biome that my hard mode biomes have destroyed, I create a new world and move my character to that one and go and farm in that new world. It's a very Terraria-esque thing to do. Yeah, that'll do. It's lit up. It's fine, it doesn't have to be perfectly lit. Just lit. It's lit, y'all. Yeah, so basic crafting area below, basic storage area above. I normally put my chests down the far end, this right-hand side end of the storage area, but I didn't actually know that you can craft from a chest that you have open. So instead of doing that, I will place my chests here on the left-hand side above the crafting area this time, because then actually falling down a level, I probably am too low, but we'll give it a go anyway. Yeah, you can craft from chests so long as you are currently looking into said chest. That's another neat feature. Terraria has so many neat quality of life features. Being able to craft from chests is good. Handy fallen star. Being able to quick stack to chests is fantastic. I mean, that's just so useful and convenient. Right, so all the ores, all the gems. And this one. Let's make this one potions and potion-like ingredients. That's more of a dye, but it's potion-like. And then I think we'll put miscellaneous in here. This would be the pink gel, lenses, grenades, fallen stars for now, those things, and we will move our money. Keeping some money in a chest if you don't already have a piggy bank is useful, because if you do die, you don't lose all your money. Okay, this is normal, so it's not like I permanently lost my money. I can always go back and get it. But having to go back and get it is a pain. Sometimes you just don't want to. Maybe you didn't lose that much money, but as opposed to losing all your money, keep some money in the chest, and then you can always come back and get that if you need to buy, I don't know, ammunition or something. When it comes to ammunition, I don't like anything that uses ammunition, so I won't use most of the thrown weapons. I won't use things like guns and bows. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just always worried that I'm going to run out of ammo mid-fight, and as a result, I just tend to avoid them entirely. Personal preference. Everybody's different. The guide can really hold his own in this early part of the game as well. He's quite impressive. When they first made him, he couldn't do that. He had no weapon, he was just useless. And he very quickly died, but these days, he's a bit of a Rambo with that bow. Quite impressive. What's his health pool? 250. He's got like more than double my health as well. So, yeah, the guide is not totally useless at the beginning of the game. Whew, I was lucky. I thought he was going to come in here. Approximate room sizes. It's probably bigger than they need to be. But that'll do for now. I'm going to want 4 doors, 3 chairs, and 3 tables. So you see, yeah, Demon Eyes can kind of get in from this point. And I always tell myself, yeah, you'll finish the base later when you finish the base. Because I don't know how many NPC hobbles you actually need. Like 5, 10, 15, 20-ish, 30-ish. I don't know. There's more of them than you think. And I always say, yeah, when I get around to actually finishing and having all the houses, hovels, in place, I'll use him later. I'll sort that out then. And then I just never do. But, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's just some NPC accommodation. And yeah, once you've got a few NPCs, I mean, like I said, look, Kyle's doing okay. He is less than half health now, so he might die before night's over, but that's okay. A new one will spawn. But he can take care of himself, and if he doesn't, that's not the end of the world. He'll respawn. I really should be collecting all these fallen stars, but I'm busy trying to get the basics of the base established before I move back to exploring, once daylight has come, this brand new world, which hopefully goes better than the last one, in which we found Narsing. Got no weapons, got one accessory, 1 shackle. I don't even know what that shackle is. Just know it's a shackle and it adds 1 defense. 2% critical strike chance. That's nothing. That barely counts. So yeah, it was just a horrible start. After such a horrible start, I was like, no, this is terrible. We could keep going with that tiny small world, but it wasn't helping at all. It was just hampering the playthrough. I was stuck in the house doing nothing every night, all night. I couldn't go out and explore. I couldn't get past the Crimson. So hopefully, this new and improved large world is big enough that we can actually get some gear. Okay, I'm going to go this way because I had a lot of fallen stars. So I might get a couple of those because I'm going to need the mana. I tend not to be much of a melee player either. I tend to go more in for ranged attacks. So you heard me say before, I don't use things with ammo. So when I say ranged, I'm talking mostly about magic and the occasional melee weapon that counts as ranged, like yo-yos. Yo-yos are very useful in that respect. Let's see, probably... Wait, where can I get to? I can get to the top one there. Oh, jeez. I'm stuck in a hole with zombies. These guys are somewhat resistant to knockback, more than many other zombies, so it is useful to use the slope to your advantage. Alright, so I won't be able to build up from there now, will I? Did not think this through. So yeah, knocking something backwards down the slope basically gets you a bit of extra knockback. I can hear doors now, which means that Carl's probably moved in. Try not to waste platforms. Yep, that's about where we want to be. Ah, damn it. That'll do, we can get across here now. Some ore. Aha, this world also spawned with tin. I actually have a lot of tin, but tin is tier 1. Mostly just going to use that to find the correct ingredients for a basic magical staff. The correct gems in the underworld. We'll do a bit of exploring and see if there's anything good to the right. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll find some decent underground caverns that aren't too deep or I can explore easily. There's one already. We'll see if we can find our way to that. We can get in from that side, so we won't bother going in from this side. We'll just go over. And here is the frost snow biome. Good stuff in the snow biome. The monsters are slightly harder to deal with. That looks like lead. So we had iron in the previous one. This one's lead. Not a big deal. We had a fair bit of iron. And there, look, a boomerang. See? Straight away, this is a much better world. Already got a ranged weapon of use. And we'll grab this lead. Explore the rest of this cave in case there's another chest. Maybe something good in these jars. There's never much good in jars, but hey, you gotta look, right? But yeah, it was really getting me down that I had explored most of the immediately available world and not found a single weapon. I was getting nowhere fast. And especially for a Let's Play, like, you want to advance at some sort of decent rate so that your audience isn't completely bored. And I mean, look, now we're on episode 3, and we're basically back at the beginning because I had to restart. I didn't really have much choice. I could have kept going with the one I was going with, but, you know, it was going to be a fair while before I found any decent caverns. It was just too much. And, you know, within, what have we taken, a half hour? Within a half hour, I was already rewarded for my choice. Some very nearby demon altars, that's very good. Or crimson altars in this case, as the case may be. So that's going to come in handy. I will eventually make a path to these. When I do get to hard mode content, I will save one of them just in case I need to make stuff later. Oh, a Hermes boots statue. Don't think you can do anything with that, but I do collect all the statues. Just make a statue collection for the sake of it, not for any particular reason. And we might go a bit more right. I don't want to go too deep down either because I don't have any real good traversal tools. Traversal tools being the hookshot or double jumps or, you know, even wings for gliding, things of that nature. I will grab some cobwebs because I can possibly make a bow later. Not a bow, a yo-yo later. What's that? Is that gold? No, no, it's just more tin. Not even going to bother with that tin. I've actually already got quite a bit of tin. I really don't need any more. I'm not going to be using it because I've already sort of reached the iron tier. I've got quite a lot of iron. I don't think I've upgraded to full iron armor. Iron, yeah, I just need enough for a helmet. But since I've skipped worlds, I may not have that. And I don't know whether lead armor is interchangeable with iron armor for the purposes of set bonuses. But oh well, we'll find out. Something to do. Ah, that's tin again. Tin is extremely squishy in real life. It deforms very easy. It's very malleable. So is lead. Lead is extremely malleable. Aluminium's very hard but brittle, so it works well up to a point, and then it just collapses, breaks into shards. Aluminium is amazingly light. I've been to an aluminium foundry where they make aluminium engine blocks once, and there was a whole pallet of aluminium ingots, like you see gold bars, gold bars in movies, and maybe you've seen one in real life, you lucky person you. And yeah, they look like they're going to be really heavy, and then you pick one up and it weighs nothing. Like an entire ingot of aluminium weighs, like a can of Coke weighs 4 times, 5 times what that ingot weighed. It was amazing. And it's really weird as well because, like, I was there with a bunch of other people and we were throwing the ingot to each other. And it was difficult to throw the ingot because it doesn't have enough mass behind it. So when you throw it, its big square shape actually has... Oh, I don't need boreal wood. What am I doing? Its big square shape has enough air resistance behind it. Oh, here we are in the crimson. That you couldn't throw it far enough most of the time. It would just, resist the air and stop. It was really strange. But very cool as well. I haven't played around with many other ingots, admittedly, so I don't know how heavy they all are. I have held an iron ingot once as well, or a steel ingot, I believe it was. And that was at an entirely different engine foundry, where they didn't make aluminium engine blocks, they made steel engine blocks. Or not actually sure what that was. The aluminium engine block, I'm not actually sure what manufacturer that was for, believe it or not. The iron or steel one was for Mitsubishi. But yeah, I don't actually remember. What is this? Oh, it's just reckless. There was something good. Oh dear. Run away. Yeah, let's not get ourselves into more trouble than we need to get into this early in the game. See, it's nice to be able to keep these things at range. The one problem with the boomerang is, of course, if you miss, you have to wait for it to come back before you get to throw it again. That's actually one of the reasons behind some of the boss arenas. When most people build a boss arena, they'll have some built-up sides, and that's so that if you're near the side, you do miss with a ranged weapon like a boomerang, it'll hopefully hit the side and come back. The other reason is for ammo things like arrows. When you shoot your arrows, they'll stick into the sides of the arena, and then you can go and get your arrow back. Again, not a hugely important thing right now. It might be quite hard to cross this crimson this early because, okay, I've got a wooden boomerang, which is improvement, but not by much. But we'll give it a go, we'll see how far we get. We might get out of the crimson. You might notice I keep hitting 3 and trying to throw something, but instead I'm just placing block. That's because on my previous character, the one I was playing most recently, that is where I had my most useful magic spell at the time. I had Summon Imps on 4. I think I'd found Water Bolt. Not Water Bolt, Ice Bolt. Frost Bolt in the dungeon. I'd also been using the Space Gun with Meteor Armor for a long time. That's very effective against most of the bosses in the early game because... Is it Molten Armor? I think it's Molten Armor. If you have Molten Armor, you use no mana using the Space Gun. So you can fire forever, which against bosses like we're in the Crimson, so both Brain of Cthulhu and Eye of Cthulhu, you really need that range. Anything melee, you're just going to struggle because you have to get too close and you're either hit by the boss itself or by, in the case of Brain of Cthulhu, his strange minions whose names I forget. I have one, obviously, everything has one. But yeah, it's just much easier to have some form of ranged weapon. Makes things much safer for you, much easier to progress, get yourself some mid-tier ore, and move on to better weaponry and armor, without having to wait too long. Alright, well, we've got one weapon, we still haven't found any other chests yet. We might keep going until we get past this ice section of the biome. I'm not going to do too much more underground spelunking, it's just a lot of effort that I don't need to go to just yet. We still have more base to build. Start a elevator, we can go in the other direction and see whether we find anything. Another boomerang. Forceful. Strong and forceful. Amounts to the same thing. Interesting. Some free lead. More potions, nothing special there. But we'll take it. More crimson. Double crimson. That's kind of weird. Alright, but that really is far enough. So, now I could try and walk back. It's a possibility, but I've got 8 recall potions. So I'll recall back for now. Right. And it is nearly night. So it might not be worth heading to the left. We'll have a quick look. We'll go till we find the next biome, which should be the desert, because they are predefined. I'm not sure if it's now one is always to the right, one is always to the left anymore, but yeah, basically if you find the desert, beyond that would be the jungle. And if you find... oh, that might be wrong. If you find the Crimson first, beyond that at some point will be a second desert in which you find the dungeon. Yes, is that right these days? I'm not sure. Again, something that comes up in the voiceovers that aren't available yet, but will be. The Terraria wiki, the official wiki, is excellent. It has everything you could possibly need. Guides, tips, handy strategies, information about different items when you don't know what they do or what they're for. Yes, excellent. There is also an unofficial wiki made by, I can't remember who that's for, by, and it also contains basically, climbing claws are kind of good. Contains basically the same information, and is also excellent. However, I've found that it runs a little slower. Just the website actually runs slower, so that's why I don't use that as much. What is sparkling? Is it me that's sparkling? What's sparkling? Something was sparkling in there. Oh, isn't it? Alright, it's already beginning to get dark, I'm sure, so we will head home. We'll just walk this time. Yeah, climbing claws come in handy. They do help with traversal. You won't fall quite as easily if you can manage to get yourself over to a wall before you hit the ground. Won't take that fall damage. Very convenient, very useful. Totally worth your while. Sorry, a bit of a yawn there. Had to get up very early this morning. And yeah, so early game like this, it's I mean, I've got a boomerang now. I could probably walk around and kill zombies, but otherwise, it is also a good idea to do things, pardon me, in your home. Just to, you know, save your strength. Don't get too far out of your depth too early in the game. Take things slow. Make sure you do what you can do, and don't try and do things that you might not be able to do. See? The zombies can't work it out. Every now and again they'll get lucky and they'll land on that platform, but half the time they won't even manage that. So, more falling stars. Excellent. Quick stacks. So useful. Oh, I haven't even populated my chest yet. Oh, yes, I have. Okay. More potions. They go in there. Potion ingredients and seeds for potion ingredients. They go in there. Miscellaneous. What else is miscellaneous? Let's make some extra chests. We'll call this one weapons and accessories. Last but not least, because I don't have one yet, anything that's a placeable. This extra chest is a placeable. They're not placeables, they're really weapons and accessories. Weapons and accessories, that's about it. Placeables, weapons and accessories, miscellaneous. I'll put cobwebs and miscellaneous. Placeables. I need more royal wood, but for some reason I didn't pick some up. Ice blocks I don't need. Where did I put my money? There. Add that to the pile. Ores. Ores go there. But actually, let me make these lead ores. Don't know whether that's enough silver, I guess we'll find out. Oh. Yeah, it is too far away. That's a shame. Oh well. I could adjust that, but you know, it's not essential that I be able to craft directly from my chests. It's just convenient when available, and currently it's not available, so let's just move on. Next That appears to be everything I can do for now. It might take me a while to get used to where I've actually placed everything. Lots of zombies. Now, we could build up, we could build down. I think we'll build up, and I will again explain the basis of how arenas, well, the boss arena for Eye of Cthulhu works, which will also be spoken about in the voiceover that is not available yet, but will be eventually. But yeah, for those who didn't hear the first one, because either watched this one first and don't want to go backwards, or you watched the first one before the voiceover was up and you don't want to go backwards, I'll give the basic principles. So basically with a boss arena for something like Eye of Cthulhu, you want to be able to move up and down easily, because you want to be able to dodge, especially when he gets to a second phase. Now the dodging, it's not too hard, but you can't get away with just dodging left and right. You need to be able to dodge up and down, and especially if you haven't found any accessories or a hookshot to improve your ability to move vertically, then using levels of platforms is ideal. You don't need many levels. 2 is sufficient for a lot of people. I like 3 to 4 just because I'm that way inclined. And the arena for Brain of Cthulhu is very similar. Of course, when you build the first Brain of Cthulhu arena, you'll want to actually do that in the Crimson Underground. The way the Crimson spawns, there is always sort of a switchback downwards facing tunnel, and then that will actually come out into a big open area, just like a big bulb, and off that there'll be some other further tunnels like fingers, and at the bottom of those fingers is where you will find the parts that you need to destroy. Alright, now because you can now see a demon eye, that's a good indication that we're probably high enough. So I think we'll make our arena at about this area. We'll kill this demon eye so he doesn't knock us off and we fall to our death. Because we're high enough to do that from here, I would believe. There we go. And let's not make it out of dirt, let's make it out of stone. I made my last one out of dirt because that's what I had, and I couldn't find the stone in my inventory. I had stone in my inventory, I just couldn't see it for some reason at that time. Oops. Oh, I wasted a torch. Oh well. So yeah, about that big. It doesn't have to be massive. It's just a little bit to either side of where you entered. Make it a little bit bigger. So approximately the width of the screen when I'm at one end. Yeah, and that'll do. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. It's really up to you. Light it is a good idea so you can see what you're doing when you're fighting the boss. It can be difficult to fight bosses in the dark, and because of his very nature, you have to fight Eye of Cthulhu in the dark. He despawns if morning comes. So the first time you fight him, you really want to fight him as early in the night as possible. I very rarely will end up with a natural spawn of Eye of Cthulhu. I will almost always find myself at a gear point where I think, right, I'm ready to face him, and I will take the lenses that I've gathered from killing demon eyes over the course of however many nights it's been, and I will go and find an altar and create the suspicious looking eye and manually summon him. And when I do that, it's a good idea to do it right at the very beginning of the night, because, I'm early geared. This arena makes things easier, so you can do it with lower level gear than you would otherwise be able to do it from a natural spawn. But considering the requirements for natural spawn, 200 health, that's 5 life crystals, a set number of armor, I can't remember what the armor requirement is, but by the time you've reached that, you've probably found weapons sufficient enough to face him if you have an arena. So yeah, don't wait if you don't have to wait. Go to it, because he does assist very much in game progression. You get your first, I believe it's Crimtane ore, which will allow you to make some decent early game armor. I think he'll drop a weapon or two occasionally that will assist. So yeah, it really is worth accelerating the early game by fighting the Eye of Cthulhu as early as you think you're capable. Now, not everyone's capable at the same time. It really depends on how good you are, how good your reflexes are, how easy you find this game to play. Another thing that might make a difference is I again going to refer to the voiceover that you can't hear just yet. But I spoke about controllers. Now you might be very good at controller, but I find controllers cumbersome, which is why I play Terraria with mouse and keyboard, because it allows you to aim really precisely, really quickly and easily. Same thing with first-person shooters. I can play first-person shooters on controller, and there are some good ones where you don't get an option because maybe they were only available on PlayStation or only available on Xbox. Time Splitters springs to mind. Excellent first-person shooter back in the day. But yeah, if you have access to a mouse and keyboard, you just have so much more accuracy and precision. And there's no... You're not hampered by having to... I mean, okay, it's technically your mouse cursor occupies all the intervening space. Like I can go from there to there, and the mouse cursor did occupy all this intervening space, but so quickly. With a controller, it takes a lot longer to get from one end of the screen to the other. So, yeah, I'm not going to criticize the way you play, it's just not the best for me, because I'm a mouse keyboard kind of guy. Ah, there we are, the die trader has arrived. Did I mention the strange plant? I picked up a strange plant earlier. The reason the die trader has arrived is because I had a strange plant in my inventory. Oh, I should do that with grenades as well. If you have an explosive in your inventory, the demolitions expert will turn up. So I'm not carrying grenades. I should be carrying those grenades, because then he will turn up. Where are the grenades? There. They shouldn't actually be there, but that's okay. Granada. Now I can give him the strange plant for some dye. Maybe I'll get something cool. Mirage dye, isn't that what I'm currently using? It is. No. That's disappointing. I was hoping for something new. We'll put that there. No. I think he'll buy those, won't he? Yes, he will. For a lot of money as well. So that's good. I needed more wood. Oh yes, because I was building up. Right, but it's daylight again, so now we will head to the left and see what we find. Maybe there'll be something good over there. Yeah, so I typically expect, due to what I found when I went right, that I will go a bit this way, and I will eventually find a desert biome, and beyond that desert biome will Barney the Merchant. Okay, that's just a generic, he just needs a room to spawn, he doesn't even need any items or anything. If I keep going to the left, I expect to find, beyond the desert, the jungle. Now, if you're real lucky, you can get all the way to the jungle, in the early game, even though you've got terrible gear, and you can find a decent pool where piranhas spawn, that you can walk up to, kill the piranhas, walk away from until it's off screen, walk back, and the piranhas will have respawned. And it's desirable to do that in the early game, because you might get a hook. And if you get a hook, you can make the first hook shot, The first hook shot improves the game, improves your ability to advance tenfold. Exploring caves ceases to be a problem, ceases to require you to place platform after platform to traverse, and yeah, it just speeds things up immensely. Right, so apparently there's enough dirt already that this is considered the desert, but there's the desert proper. Yeah, you don't really want to go underground in the desert too early. The underground enemies in the desert are pretty deadly. Antlions, vultures, not too bad. The sand slimes, not too bad. They have pretty high resistance, which makes them somewhat problematic, but you know, some decent knockback and some care so that you don't get destroyed by them. And that's about all you need. See, now I just heard then one of those damn sand things. They make these awful, awful noises. Ah, there he is, the dragon. I should be lucky enough to be able to take him out with this boomerang. But yeah, these things are crazy. They do a lot of damage this early in the game. So avoiding them by not going into their domain at all is always a good idea. So we will build a platform across this. Oh dear, there's another one. And oh jeez, yeah, see, that was 30 health in a single hit. That's a lot. Slowly whittle him away with my 3 damage. Jeez. There's something down there that's shooting up at me. Don't actually know what that is. But he's not been very successful, so I won't worry about him too much. Yeah, killing vultures can be problematic with something like a boomerang, because you can miss and then have to wait for the boomerang to come back. But if you backpedal, they tend to stay pretty much in almost the exact same space consistently, and you can just throw your boomerang at approximately the same point and defeat them that way. You can also just run away and deal with them at some other point, which I might do this time because, oh jeez, nope, there's too many of them and I'm going to have to go past that antlion. So yeah, you see, so long as I backpedal, they pretty much end up in the same place every time. Oh man, so many antlions spawning, that's crazy. Oh, well that one despawned. Yeah, you see, if you stand still, you've always got that possibility of missing. That was weird. What did I kill? Oh well. Something died before the vulture died. Might have been a bug. Not a bug as in an insect, as in a programmed bug. Something that had gone wrong there. Oh, sand slimes, you are so slow and slowly useless. I'm just going to go past you. Run away. It's not really running away. We're just running past because it's more ignoring him. It's more effort than I want to deal with right now. That looks like a pretty good cave to explore, but we're not going to because I'm hoping to get to the desert and find a hook. The problem is, this is normally around the point where I would end a Let's Play. We've been going for almost exactly an hour now, so it really is time to get on. So I might just go until I find the jungle, so I know where it is, and I know I've developed a path and put in all the platforms and things that I need to get there, and we will explore next time. So we're just keep on moving, keep on trucking, and you will hopefully eventually get there. Ooh, platinum ore. Get some platinum ore out of the gel, out of a slime. I'm not sure if that means platinum ore is the ore that spawned in this world. Ah, more crimson. So I think if you find the jungle, it'll be after this section of crimson. This is again where a good broadsword and overhand swinging sword is more useful than the short sword that you start with, because the short sword only stabs, so you can't clear out the crimson thorns. Or you can, but you'd have to jump up and down to do so. Yeah, it's just nice to have a sword with a nice big, broad swinging area that covers enough space so you can clear the annoying terrain features that would otherwise hamper your progress. You're gonna have to kill this guy. Here, creepers, they might be coming up behind me, I'm not really sure. Oh, jeez, don't do that. Don't want to get myself killed before we find the jungle. Well, if we do, we'll end the video there and we'll head towards the jungle in the next one. But for now, we will still attempt to keep progressing towards the jungle. Keep our fingers crossed we can make it. Haha! Fooled you. I did not want to be down here at all. This is definitely starting to look more difficult than it should. Oh jeez. Use that slope for knockback bonuses. Get him. Damn chimeras. I don't know why they're called chimeras as well. I don't think they actually meet the requirements of being a chimera. They're made up of two creatures or more creatures. They don't look like they're made up of two creatures. They just look like one very strange creature. I could be wrong. A chest. Chest is very good. That's always going to be worthwhile. If I ever get a break from all these chimeras. Face monsters. This is where the bridge comes in handy, because they will fall. Because they're dumb. AI is not intelligent enough to work this one out. Some things like slimes, etc. will work it out. Oh, blowpipe. I don't need a blowpipe. They're not very useful either. Oh well, I didn't get anything good out of that. Let us keep progressing, try and get across. Hopefully it won't take me too much longer, because I don't want this video to be too long. Already at an hour and sort of 3-ish minutes. There we go, more desert. That's a good sign. Now beyond this desert will be the jungle. Hopefully this desert isn't too big and doesn't have too many holes in it. And then yeah, we will reach the jungle proper. In fact, I believe this is it. This looks somewhat jungle-like. There we go. So that's the jungle. And this pool itself is not bad. It might be sufficient to produce some piranhas if I move off screen and back onto screen. We shall see. Yeah, jungle monsters, quite hardy. The above ground ones are basically jungle slimes and jungle bats, so they're not as ridiculously dangerous. One can deal if one is careful, but you really don't want to be going into the underground of the jungle this early in the game. Just one more plant here, we'll take that. Although I think that'll just be more mirage dye. I'm not sure if the strange plant, the dye that you get is dependent on the plant. But yeah. Yes, well now it's night. Night in the jungle. Oh, and we've died. So that defines that. Alright, well thank you very much. Oh, there was moon glow there as well, and it was night. That's a shame. As I was saying, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, there's a button for that. Hit like. If you want to see more of this content, there's a button for that. Hit subscribe. If you don't like this video, there is a button for that. It's the dislike button. I prefer you didn't click it, but if you really didn't like it, click it. That's what it's there for. But if you do so, please comment and let me know why you didn't like it. It'd be nice for me to sort of have some idea of why people don't like what I'm doing, so I can improve on it if at all possible. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.